Hello, everyone, and welcome to Politics Today on Channels Television. I'm Sheung Wakimbaloye. It is a very critical moment in our national life. Many states of the Federation are broke. It's so bad that they cannot pay salaries of their workers in their respective states. In short, the nation's economy is bleeding. And at a time like this, when almost major aspect of the nation's economy is on its knees, what is the way out? 18,000 naira is the approved minimum wage for workers, and that at this time can hardly take anyone home considering the consistent spiking in the price of almost anything on sale. The cost of running government comes to the fore, as most Nigerians will poke how much is put in running government of Nigeria. That is on one side. Let's flip the page now. In our other part of our conversation on the program today, we'll be looking at some very germane issue concerning costs of governance. Well, it's perhaps not surprising the sort of uproar we saw on the social media about the allowances and salaries of Nigerian federal lawmakers. Some have argued that the approved allocation for the legislators are perhaps not out of place, but for some, at a time when most workers in about two-thirds of the states of the nation have been working without pay, watching their children go to bed without food could be sickening, and with that, millions of naira going into a lawmaker's bank account could be seen as simply obscene. At least they are the people these lawmakers say they represent. It was perhaps most worrisome when some millions of nairas were said to be allocated as wardrobe allowances for the senators and House of Representatives. The buzz about the lawmakers' salaries brought to the fore some very interesting revelations about just how much the lawmakers earn. It is said that each senator may be taking home about 240 million naira. Yes, about 240 million naira annually in salaries and allowances. While his counterpart in the Green Chamber, that's the lower chamber in the House of Representatives, could earn as much as 204 million naira in salaries and allowances. Well, the revelation immediately forces a comparison beyond our climes here and a stark reality of the enjoyment of the rulers compared to the level of poverty in the land. Analysts have said that the Nigerian federal lawmaker is the highest paid in the world. Findings show that a Nigerian legislator earns more than the U.S. President Barack Obama, which brings a big question mark on the kind of system we run as a country, where a senator in Nigeria, one of the poorest countries in the world, earns about $1.7 million a year. Well, this package is morally right in a country where leaders are complaining about their inability to pay 18,000 minimum wage. How do you justify lawmakers taking such staggering pay? With 109 senators and 360 representatives at the lower chamber collecting such salaries and allowances in a developing country like Nigeria, how can democratic governance make any positive impact on the lives of the ordinary people? Just how can running government in Nigeria be as prudent and frugal? We hope to get some clarifications and knowledge from the experience of my guests on the program. But before I introduce my guests, let me give you some sense of some of these figures and some of the state of in our country and what is really happening in some of these states. You want to know just how many months some of these states are owing. Look at it. This is the IGI report for some of the states from Bauchi. This is the okay. Now this is the top 5 right now. You can see Lagos leading the pack there with 276 billion naira as IGR, and in 2015 about 384 billion to a state like Ogun, where you see about 7.4 billion as IGR in 2014, and it came down to 13 billion in 2015. Well, let's look at the bottom 5. It can just give you an idea about what these states have aside the federal allocation which they get every month. Well, Bauchi is the leader in this pack, the bottom 5 of how much internally generated revenue these states get. Bauchi is with about 4 billion in 2014, and slightly up with a few millions to 4.9 billion. Well, if you look at it, Ekiti, Samfara, Nasarawa, Kebbi, all of them are there with just about 3 billion as IGI. If you look at Ekiti there, from 3 billion to 2 billion, and well, also you can see that in Samfara, 3.1, it dropped slightly lower. Let's take a look at some of these states and how many months they are owing across the country. So you can see there, well, Abia owing about 6 months. Well, and we cannot get readily what the IGL. What other figures that you're seeing beside it, the line then 2014 and 2013 are the IGL they generated. So these are the burden of unpaid salaries across the nation. Bauchi, Benue owing about 7 months, Ekiti about 3 months, and Abia about 9 months. So let's flip to other pages and see some of these other states. Gombe about 1 month, Kogi also, and you can just see beside them what they have aside their federal allocation. So you can have a sense of what things look like in some of these states. And on we go to Ondo State or Shun, in about 7 months. You can have a sense of what is happening in Oshun, Plateau, and Benue State. This is perhaps some of the states are owing the most in the country, and Rivers there, 2 months. Well, I have joining me from our Abuja studio a former vice president of the World Bank and a former minister of education in Nigeria under President Olusegun Obasanjo, Dr. Oby Ezekwesili joins us now. Thank you so much. And let me start by asking you, about 20 states cannot pay salaries of their workers. Do you think the nation is broke, and how bad is the financial mess?
I think that clearly we have a fiscal crisis in our hand. There is no doubt that when you see manifestations of inability of the state level as well as, in fact, the federal level to smoothly take care of its recurrent cost, that there is crisis. And it's a matter of how quickly do people accept the level of the crisis that would need to be managed. At least owning a problem is the first step towards solving the problem.
It's interesting that we're realizing these, and some of the states of the Federation have been talking about the problem. Some of them have said that this problem did not only start yesterday, it started in 2013, and some people have raised the alarm that, look, in the nearest future, it will get worse, and it has gotten worse. In fact, for some other states, a lot of people are tired of the situation. Tell us, give Nigerians a sense of how we got into this, how we got this far, because you look at a Nigeria, like a nation like Nigeria, blessed with oil, and we are dependent on that. How could we have gotten to this point in the first place?
That's precisely the problem. You know, people say blessed with oil. Well, you know, the rascality and the recklessness that has followed the pattern of behavior where after the fifth oil boom, because that's the way I classify it, we're back again to where we were in the 80s. In fact, there's a feeling of deja vu, really, because sometime about 1982, 1983, we suffered a similar kind of situation, and we ended up, you know, with austerity measures that had to be taken by the government of, I think, President Shagari. And then it was in the course of all of that there was a coup in Nigeria. And guess who became the head of state? The current president of the nation. I mean, it's unbelievable how Nigeria finds itself in a cyclical pattern of recklessness simply because of our dependence on what is at best you know, the best way that I put it is that it is a casino lottery that you win through oil. And poor management of oil is a pattern of predatory behavior. The predatory behavior of your elite class, where they simply are boxed into the very, very easy oil money, the rent that comes from oil. It sort of precludes the kind of proper macroeconomic management as well as structural reforms that would have enabled the diversification of the economy. And so here we are today, fifth oil boom, we have repeated a pattern. I remember that in January 2013, I could already see where this was going. And I did point this out in a lecture that I gave at the convocation of students of the University of Nigeria. Rather than the lecture be received for what it was pointing to, some red herring was picked upon as a basis for very hostile words to be thrown. But, besides that, Shehu, oil is a blessing only to the extent that the country that is so endowed would translate the revenue from oil into capital